Hey guys, today we're going to be doing some bike work here in the garage. This is my 2019 FC450. I just picked it up a couple months ago and I absolutely love the bike. I only have a couple little gripes and little issues with it, but slowly but surely I'm working those out and getting it dialed into my liking. Now, before I bought this bike, I was so stoked to finally upgrade to it and to buy it from, a close family friend that was giving me a great deal on the bike. I watched pretty much every video I could on it, learned everything I could about it, watched all the shootouts. I wanted to know what pipes did what for it, what different bars, what mods people were doing. And I know a lot of people, even if you don't have a bike like this or have this bike, you can still watch this video and feel like you're working towards a goal or looking at a future goal and seeing, what parts and pieces you would want to put on something like this if you ever had one of these machines to yourself. So I put about 10 hours on this bike, and one thing I really don't like is the decel popping, and when you're coming out of a corner, it's a little dead on the bottom. I've tried both maps, I've looked into remapping, and a lot of people have told me that the main issue is right here. And there's a reason that the factory edition and the KTM factory edition come with a F&F silencer on it, or an Acropovic silencer, is because the Husqvarna comes with an international, let me rephrase. The Husky FC450 is what they call an international bike. That means that this bike is the same globally. The way they sell it here is the way they sell it everywhere else. Now, that's not true with KTMs and with some other bikes. They have US versions, European editions. Some of the KTMs we get have different gear sets than other ones in other countries. And because of that reason, this muffler or silencer has to be compliant all around the globe. So there's a giant restrictor in here, a massive witch's hat that really sucks kind of some of the air it should be releasing, and you can feel it's kind of choked up. So one of the mods we're going to do today is going to free up some air. So what you're going to need for that is a pipe from Pro Circuit or whatever you choose. I got a THEM Pro Circuit titanium exhaust with the little carbon tip and everything here. I think they retail around $900 or so. I picked this up from a buddy, so we're going to be putting that on today. Super simple install, but like I said, this video is kind of for those window shoppers or the people that just are bored and they want to, see what their Husky would be like with a Pro Circuit pipe, or, with the Yosh pipe or Acropovic, or just a different upgrade. So today that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, just to be clear, there are plenty of ways that you could go about upgrading your exhaust on this bike. You can do a slip-on. You can also leave this stock header and just do a slip-on, and that'll free up most of the air and fix most of the problems that you're having, or ones that I'm experiencing. But I ended up getting a pretty great deal from a friend on this full THEM exhaust, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. But if you look, they retail for around $1,000, so that's pretty expensive for a pipe, especially on a bike that already costs around 10 grand to begin with. So if you are on the cheaper side, for $400 to $600, you can find yourself a good slip-on that'll cure most of your problems and keep that little banana head pipe for you. Now, I'm not searching for more power. I'm searching for cleaning up the power and also getting on the pipe sooner. This bike is a little dead off the bottom, and I don't mean like it's super sluggish or anything, but it does feel like it's choked up and it needs to free up some air. Now, I know that's one of the reasons why people do the TC 125 or 250 air box, or the air filter mod, and then they also cut holes inside this factory side plate to get more air in there. Like the KTM comes with holes in it, and actually Husky realized that was a problem and finally decided to put some holes in the 2020 and up, but it's still not enough. It's teeny little holes, just vents on the top where it should be 5 or 6 kind of widespread holes. But I don't really need to do that yet, and I don't clean my air filter every single time I ride, and I know that if I put the holes in the side of my panel, that I'm going to need to clean my air filter pretty much every time I go out riding. So to free up some air, what I'm going to do is switch to the 2-stroke air filter cage, which I can do in another video for you guys if you want, and I'm going to be putting on the THEM exhaust system. So let's go ahead and get started. Now for this job you're only going to need like 2 or 3 tools, and one of them is a spring puller. If you don't have one of these, you can still get away with using like needle nose pliers or something like that, but you're probably going to end up scratching your pipe or your bike, or you know, busting some fingernails and stuff and swearing a little bit. But you can still get by without it, but it does help to have one. You're also going to need an 8mm socket, a 10mm socket, and that's it. So let's go ahead and get started with this install. Also, when you get a new bike, or if you have a Husky 450, I've noticed a lot of stuff likes to rattle its way off this bike. You should go around and check all the nuts and bolts pretty frequently. Don't over torque them or anything, but make sure that they are tight, because you can see these aren't matching. I actually lost one of these at the track, and I knew it was tight before I went out and rode, but still sometimes you never know. So make sure you do a nut and bolt check on a bike, especially your spokes. Now with our spring puller tool, I'm going to go ahead and remove the first spring, which is located right here. Take our spring puller and remove these 2 springs right here. I know these 2 springs can be a little tough, so before I use my spring tooler, what I'm going to do is go ahead and put on some gloves just to protect my fingers a little bit. Alright, now we can pull off these 2 springs. There's one. Come around the other side of the bike and grab the other one. And there you go. Now you can go ahead and remove your silencer like that. And keep in mind you're going to have to reuse these. So just remember, keep these, and we'll be reinstalling them in the new pipe pretty soon. Now we're going to come over here and remove our header. Now this could be a little stubborn. What you should do is not yank it in one certain direction, because you could bend your pipe or ovalize the hole. What you should do is kind of work it, just gently work it out, and it'll start coming out. And there you go. Header's off. Now that we've gotten this head pipe off, we're almost ready to install our new Pro Circuit head pipe. But what you're going to want to do is make sure you remove these rubber bushings with the metal caps on them. You're going to remove these from your stock pipe and put them right here on your new one. Now that we've got these pressed in, we're going to go ahead and start kind of fitting up our header pipe. Alright, to keep the pipe from moving around too much, what I'm going to do is go ahead and put this bolt back in here, but just very loose. I'm just going to put a couple threads in it like that, just so we know it's not going anywhere. We're going to take our springs and we're going to load those up. Alright, now that I have the springs tight on the header, I'm going to go ahead and remove these bushings and put them into our new silencer. Alright, so now I got these bushings pressed in. A tip I would say, don't try and just force these metal bushings in. Spin them in and they'll go in perfect. These are directional. You see they're flush, smooth on this side, and on that side they have 2 little indents on both of these. Make sure you do that on both of them, and try and spin the metal bushing in so you don't rip the rubber when you're just forcing it with your hands. It goes a lot quicker and it's a lot easier, I'll tell you that much. Now before we install our silencer, we're going to go ahead and install some of this fancy stuff we got with it. just so it doesn't really seize up, and when you want to pull off your silencer and work on your suspension or anything like that, it doesn't basically become like solid. It will have some give and not seize up to the other piece of metal. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Add a little bit around here and go ahead and slap it back on the bike. Now I've removed this bolt right here just to give us a little bit more play when we're installing the silencer. So let's go ahead and grab our silencer, start fitting it up. Slides in there like that. Force it in there. And then go ahead and check your bolts right here. See how those holes line up. See if they need to come back or go forward at all. So they might need to go back a little bit. Now they need to come forward. Go ahead and slide those in like that. We can put this back in here. And we're good to put on the spring right here and the 2 bolts in there. So let's go ahead and do that. I just noticed right now that there actually isn't a spot for the 3rd spring. Since it is a slip-on fit, slip-fit exhaust, I guess you just don't need one in the rear. I've looked all around on the silencer and there is nowhere for a spring to go in. So with that out of the way, we don't have to do that. So we're going to go ahead and put the bolts in our silencer. It's always important to get these in there without the ratchet. So make sure the first few threads aren't crossed, because you definitely don't want to cross thread these. So make sure you get them in there and they're nice and they spin freely. You don't want them to have really too much tension or feel like you need to use extra leverage to get them to be tight. You might have to also wiggle your exhaust around to kind of get it to all line up, because this is a new pipe, a new bike. Every bike's made a little bit different. In theory they're all identical, but there are certain tolerances and margins of error with materials and with clearances. So see, I have that in there really nice and it's spinning freely with my hand. Pick it up, it'll spin even easier. So I just kind of pick it up with my elbow, spin that in there like that. And I go ahead and grab my Honda bolt from the track. Put that one in here. Trying to make sure that's all lined up, make sure that spins. Oh man, this pipe looks so good. I'm stoked with it so far. So go ahead and keep spinning our bolts in here. These nice and tight. Not too tight, but make sure they are tight, because you don't want these falling out, especially if you have an aftermarket pipe. Spend all that money on a pipe, then have your bolt fall out, lose a pipe, bend the header or something. Not a good time. That one. That one. And we'll go ahead and tighten up this one, and we're pretty much done. Well, not pretty much, we're actually done. There we go. Pipes all on there, nice and secure. Job well done. Now, truth be told, I am kind of a fan of the way that the stock silencer looks on there, so I'm sad to see that go, but this header looks 1,000 times better, and it's only going to look cooler and cooler with the tie changing colors as it heats up and as it ages. It'll change, the patina on it will kind of change colors and vary, so having that different header on there looks so much better. And also, this is a pretty nice upgrade as well, so can't be too sad to see that stock one go, but definitely happy to have this on there. Now, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to see how it sounds. So I'm going to have to roll this thing outside so it's not so echoey in the garage, and see how it sounds. One thing to keep in mind is that this is a kind of handheld camera, so the microphone isn't the greatest, movie quality that you could get. Also, one thing I will say is that if you're ever doing this job yourself, your hands have a lot of grease and kind of oils on them, and even if you don't really touch the pipe much, it will burn some stuff off of it, and it's mainly just the oil and residue and everything from you touching it. So keep that in mind if you start up your bike and then all of a sudden it starts smelling and smoking. Take a look around. It's mainly just stuff burning off your pipe. It's nothing crazy, so don't get too alarmed when that happens, okay? Unfortunately, I had to take a little break because the battery died on the camera, but got the pipe all on and installed, and it looks great. It looks so good. And I've already heard it, but you guys haven't heard it yet. Let's see how it sounds, because I can tell you it sounds so much more throaty and so much better. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. That's pretty much all you need to know and everything you need to do to free up some air on your Husky FC450 or even your KTM SX450. So if you guys have any suggestions or any type of comments, go ahead and leave them down below. And if there's any other types of videos or anything you guys want to see on the dirt bike or anything like that, go ahead and let me know, and I'm more than down to do it. And I'll probably be making a few more videos like this in the future, so just keep a lookout for those. I'll probably be doing a video on when I get my graphics and stuff, and a couple other videos like that. So stay tuned, and thank you guys so much for watching.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Bye, Felicia.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.